Let's see. Well, I think we're live, and even if we're
I,
not live, we're live enough. So maybe this is happening. Let's pretend like it's happening.
all right.
So, with me today are Susan and Gregg Csikos, who most anybody in the Renaissance circuit on the East Coast know as the Rambling Sailors.
Hi. Ahoy.
Ahoy, everybody!
Ahoy,
Hey there.
Captain Drew.
So right now, Greg is sailing his way around Ohio,
Yep. North Coast.
and Susan is in the Atlantar area for right now.
Yeah.
And I first met you guys about 16 or 17 years ago. 17 years ago, probably.
Something close too.
16, 17. So that's back when they were in Atlanta a little bit more, probably. But tell everybody what you guys do now and what fairs you play, and a little bit about your band.
Sure. You want to take
Um,
that?
Go ahead.
Well, we travel around the country to Renaissance festivals and pretty much sing sea shanties and seagoing type music, and also just Renaissance fair music full time. We start
Sometimes a
in
cappella,
the
sometimes with guitar and squeeze box.
Yep, but always with beautiful voices and fabulous harmonies that we work on while we're driving.
Oh, that's great.
Our current circuit is Sherwood Forest Fair by Austin, then Scarborough Fair by Dallas, then
Mhm.
Bristol, which is smack between Chicago and Milwaukee, then sometimes New York, sometimes Maryland, and we finish up at the Carolina show.
So Carolina, that's where you're still able to see a lot of your old friends from down here in the Atlanta and North Carolina area.
Right.
A lot of people still come
Absolutely.
up.
It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure to see our friends and where from where I got started. We see Greg's friends from where he got started when we go to the Scarborough Festival by Dallas.
Right
Mhm.
on. Is Dallas the biggest festival?
Oh
Houston is the
no,
biggest
Houston
one.
is. Okay.
that's Texas Renaissance Festival going on in October, November. Actually, it's coeval with the Carolina show, and so we've never been able to make it together.
Ah, I'm afraid to ask, and you don't have to answer which one is your favorite, or do you have favorite for different
How
reasons?
can one have a favorite? Maryland. We have Maryland.
It's
Maryland is our
Maryland.
favorite.
Partly it's a
And
beautiful site, partly they really dig the folk music there, and partly it's just a sea shanty kind of town.
yeah,
So we
it's
do
it's hard.
really well there. It's hard to not love the adoration that we receive at Maryland.
Yeah, maybe it's because they love us the best. I mean,
That's
it's hard. It's hard because I mean, there's no other town like it because Annapolis is right there, and so there are literally people on their own time getting together every week or every 2 weeks and having like at a bar
I mean,
down by the
Baltimore was a
waterfront.
sailing town. It's referenced in numerous historical sea shanties. So we're right
Right,
there
and
thinking
I
of
and
where
we
it happened.
I think
and we
you've
actually get together with old Navy men. We have the opportunity every couple of weeks to get together with like old Navy men and other fans of shanties and sing sea shanties like with a drink in our hand and like actually get drunk, get schwilly with real sailors and
At an
real
actual bar
wheelmen.
called the Wharf Rat. It's a
Oh my God. The Wharf Rat is one of my favorite places to be. It is a near subterranean place with actual flagstone floors down a cobblestone street down by the old town. And every couple of weeks, they get together back there in the back side of that room and have a shanty sing, and it is delightful. And we miss those guys so much.
Oh, I bet that's amazing. I bet that's amazing. You know, we do have people here in the Pirates in our neck of the woods who are enormous fans of the shanty and are our local shantymen who sing when we go. They know their songs, and we could probably once the Commodore's out of the way, we could probably put together a bus tour up there to go hit the best places that you're talking about. It sounds like it'd be absolutely fabulous.
We
So
know of several really fabulous places. Oh, Greg, I never really thought about doing that.
yep.
Is the idea of getting together people and doing a shanty crawl through like
Uh,
Baltimore.
Across state lines and stuff.
that's more like the Cannonball Run, isn't it?
I love this idea. It might just be born of drinking and talking at the same time, but I am going to write it down.
Yeah,
Well,
we'll look into it.
I remember years ago you told me that there was someone who had Greg that had collected a lot of shanties and put them together in a book. And
Yeah, it's called Shanties of the Seven Seas. It's by Stan Hugel.
okay, and is that the definitive Bible
It is the
of?
definitive collection of sea shanties. I mean,
Yeah.
up until that point, it was mostly an oral tradition, and he just wrote all that shit down and cleaned it up a bit for public consumption.
Right.
Yeah, he absolutely cleaned it up. There were probably some super dirty words he never got to write down, but if you read between the lines, you can really fill them in.
You can fill.
You
Now,
can totally fill them in.
how did each of you? Now, first of all, for those that can't tell, they're married, even though they're in different places. They are a. They are.
Ring, Dave.
Yeah, show the rings. Everybody rings.
Ta-da!
Getting the rings. So you've known each other a little while.
Mhm.
Were you both into shanties when you met? Were you both into the music? I shouldn't say shanties because there's other music that you play. But,
Yeah, but we were both into both of those, both music and sea shanties specifically.
right.
Yes.
And-
I was not an exclusive performer of sea songs and sea shanties. Greg was much more, on that.
Trying to fill a
But
niche.
yes, but I very much loved singing sea songs, and and I knew a lot of sea shanties. Not and that was true before I ever became a sailor and went working as a sailor. I just
You were on the Riggins. What were you on?
I was on a schooner up in Maine called the J&E Riggin, Riggin.
Right.
That's short for Jake and Elwood.
Was it really?
No.
Oh, that'd been great.
It was Jake and Edward. So close, so close. But for what it's worth, the captain for many years was a big fan of the Blues Brothers. But we and that is a ship that is still in operation. She still sails off the coast of Maine every year, and they're one of the most popular boats on the water up there. Is a fleet of 18 boats, though, all wonderful captains, wonderful crew, and great food. And ding, there's my plug. But even before that, I was very fond of singing. When I got into singing period and historical songs, the women that I knew, oh my goodness,
He'll be back.
he went away. Am I going to keep talking? Should I?
Yeah,
should I keep
he
talking?
sent a message saying to keep going. So
Okay. When I started performing, oh, the internet's down. Yeah, I thought so. I wasn't getting that little live thing in the corner of my screen. Well, it was probably a boring story anyway. I would rather just look at your face.
well, it still says live on Facebook. Oh, now I'm just seeing Susan, like the words.
My
Did your camera go away?
Is my microphone unmuted?
Yes, I can hear you, but I don't see your picture anymore.
Oh, hang on. Okay. Can you see me now?
I can.
Okay.
So I've forgotten what the question was.
He asked how we got into specifically shanties, and I was about to explain that most of the women, when I got into historical music, most of the women that I knew liked singing like all these really sad songs, which is really pretty and everything, but it didn't feel like 100% my style. I like things that are a bit more energetic. I like singing things. I mean, I love the sad songs, sad ballads. Oh my God, they're so beautiful. But I like the other things. I love singing about passion and battles and and pirate songs and sea songs.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, that goodness.
really, they fill that niche really well. So I plan to repeat that. So I hope you don't mind.
Sure. I suppose we should just keep interviewing each other until Drew gets back, because we do seem to still be live on Facebook.
Oh, are we?
I have a live on Facebook up in my corner.
Okay. I was gonna actually try and find the place where we are on Facebook. I do not have live on Facebook on my corner.
Well, okay.
But that doesn't mean that we're not.
Why don't I
Um,
talk about how I got into Sea Chanteys for a minute in case we are still live while you try to find us on Facebook and see if we are.
that sounds
Oh,
good.
hey, he came back with a different face.
What?
Cannot hear you, Andrew.
I forgot I had a party. Forgot I had a party. Yeah, sorry about that.
All right. I'm trying to find actually where we are on Facebook Live. Can you like?
It's not Pirate Palooza's Pirate Palooza Pub Sing and Pub Crawl and Pub Sing.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you might have to scroll down a bit to see it, but you are live,
Thank you. There
Excellent.
we are.
and I'm
I'll
watching
try
it
very
here.
hard.
See if we've got any questions. So yeah, I was watching you while I was at the party,
Super.
and you guys did great. Uh, I got myself a sandwich.
Oh,
Excellent.
excellent, excellent.
Oh, it was a good party. Good party.
But did you grab yourself a drink, or gotta wash that down with something?
I'll be right back. Just interview
No,
yourself.
you don't go away. Okay, so
So, as you know, but the people watching might not know, I got into Sea Chanteys when I first went out to Scarborough Fair, which was my first fair. There was an act, Gibbon the Troubadour, who would do a show at noon every day with the local pirate crew, and they would sing sea shanties, and I thought it was the coolest thing. However, the pirates he was singing with, none of them were actually singers, and it occurred to me that it would be cool to do a show like this with people who can sing. So I put the Corsairs together, and after 9 years of singing with them, and I was wanting to get out and hit more fairs, they were getting it to a place where they were ready to stop driving down to Houston for 2 months out of the year. And I'm like, I want more fairs and they want fewer. Perhaps it's time to learn to play the guitar.
And that's what prompted you to do that.
Yeah, actually, up until then, we were doing it all a cappella. The only instrument in the show was a wooden flute that I would use basically as a pitch pipe.
Here locally, like I was telling you, some of our guys right now they're simply a cappella,
Mm-hmm.
and even a squeeze box would be just incredible to have that added to it. But a pitch pipe is a great idea.
Yeah, I actually picked up Squeeze Box because a father of a friend of my girlfriend at the time basically found a Squeeze Box in his attic and said, "Here, you want this thing?" And I'm like,
Really?
yes, I do. And it was in horrible shape, but it was really fun to play. And that was my first of many Squeeze Boxes.
Now, I've seen you guys have some videos online on YouTube,
Mhm.
and some terrific performances. I've been a huge fan always,
Oh, thanks.
and the first album I'd have to go back and look to see which album it is, but it's the one with the circle and like the red and the blue.
That would be Wanderlust. That was our first CD.
Wanderlust. That's one that I always listen to when we get fired up for the first season of festival or for Pirate Palooza. It's that's always
Yay.
the first one I listen to. I reach for.
I have to recommend our latest CD, Kenway's
Tell us
Favorites,
about
which is available on Bandcamp. It's entirely songs that we got. They're all traditional sea shanties, but we specifically chose those ones because they were in the game Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Yep.
And we just got a bunch of our friends who are also singers together, and we did in a circle of microphones and just knocked it out in 2 sessions, and it's just outstanding.
It is. I'm seriously, I know people say this about their new albums all the time, but I have not. This might be our favorite album. Might be my
Really?
favorite album, certainly. It's all a cappella. I feel like we really got back to our roots,
Right.
but at the same time, with the kind of quality of tone and song that I've always wanted us to have, and also with a freshness that has not been there before, mostly because we were under the impression that if we were going to do an album, we needed to have the songs rehearsed really, really, really well. And apparently that's not always true, because you get, okay. When you first learn a song,
Yeah.
You have the excitement of learning the song, and you
Right.
have the freshness. And then when you have practiced the song for a long time, you lose some of that freshness, but then you have the skill, and then you kind of internalize it, and you can deliver it in any number of ways. That's awesome. And I feel like this was a time when we had a lot of the freshness was still on the songs, because we were familiar with them, but we had not learned them in performance to performance level up until that time, up until like a couple of weeks before that, really.
And because
And
it was all sea shanties, it's call and response. So the people who were joining us just had to learn a couple of lines that they would basically do those same 2 lines for the whole song. So they were basically learning their parts on the fly and making it up right before we recorded it. We would
and they were
record a song, then sing the next one to them, and we'd go over it 3 or 4 times until everybody had a part, and then we'd record it. It was insane.
Well, if I weren't a double space pirate, I would say something like, I think that the same thing happens in other crafts as well, in other medium, where if you do something so much, it loses every bit of vitality, and it becomes mechanical. It becomes something where you can't even feel it anymore. And so I think that's exciting. I will be buying that album to hear it.
excellent.
And and despite the fact that our folks don't tour and they're not performing at festivals, you would love to be up there with us, because on the pub crawl, typically when Pirate Palooza is in season in person, our second stop of the day is at the Brick Store upstairs at the Belgian bar.
Oh,
do you remember it?
I love that place. That's my favorite place to drink in the world.
Low ceilings, the joists are in there, the brick walls, and imagine it filled with pirates. And over in the corner, you've got Tommy and Foe and like some of the other guys in there crowded together into a corner, and they're doing like some of the standard shanties that you'd imagine they'd be singing, and it's just like the whole place rings with people singing along to it. It's just incredible. It's an incredible experience. So it's probably not unlike what you guys are getting there when you go to the old places you were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So about the shanties, people that don't know what we're talking about, can you kind of like frame in what counts as a shanty? Why do they call it a shanty? All of that.
That guy.
No one is
my
entirely clear why they call it a shanty. There are competing theories about that. But shanties are basically work songs that sailors would use on ship for anything that it made the work more efficient if all the men were doing the same thing at the same time, largely hauling on lines, sometimes pumping on a capstan or windlass, and just anything that having a good rhythm would make the work easier. They'd come up with songs to help keep time.
Right. I mean, that makes sense entirely. I mean, and you are they in the book that you were mentioning? Are they classified by the speed or the cadence?
It's not the speed so much, but okay. There's 3 basic types of sea shanties. There's the short drag, where you just need an occasional oomph all at once. Like if you're trying to pull the slack out of a sail, you'd use a short drag, and it would just be like, say, there's one called Dan Dan that's a short drag, and it's basically, my name it is Dan Dan, sailor man I am, somebody took me rum, down on son of a gun, that kind of thing. And it's just occasional brief explosions of activity, and that's a short drag shanty. Then you have the halyard shanty, which is used for hauling a yard up a mast, and that's like Holloway Joe and things like that, where you do have occasional tugs followed by pauses, and they frequently have every other line with a chorus kind of structure. And then you have your capstan and windlass shanties, which are basically a long rhythmic thing for walking in circles or pumping on pumps or just anything that's going to take a while. You would use capstan shanty for.
Do any of the crews nowadays still perform it? Any of the sailors?
Absolutely. Yes. It is still extremely useful, especially on historic vessels. because the same reasons still apply. You still want people to haul all at the same time, and having some kind of a rhythm to haul by increases the amount that increases the work, the effort that you can put onto the boat.
Do you think that,
Interestingly, although pirates singing sea shanties is a bit of a cliche,
Yeah.
Shanties didn't really take off until piracy was almost wiped out, because up until that time, people would run with heavy enough crews to fight off an invading force. And so you had plenty of hands to make the work light, and you didn't need the extra efficiency. It wasn't until pirates were almost gone and ships companies started running with lighter crews that shanties really came up, because when you have fewer people doing the work, you really need that extra oomph.
that concentration of effort? Yeah.
I found that similarly true on the J&E Riggin, when all the passengers were out there hauling on the line and they're singing sea shanties to get them to haul. You didn't really need the sea shanty. There was plenty of people just to haul that thing up without even thinking about it.
Right.
Yeah, but when you're hauling up the anchor, though, there's only 2 people per side, and you absolutely need a shanty.
Doing the pump shanty while we were hauling the anchor up was awesome cool.
Yeah.
Do you
That
have
song is best when accompanied by anchor chain, I've discovered.
Do you have a favorite of your anchor, of a pumping shanty?
I don't know if I do.
You don't have to answer that now.
Yeah, I know a lot of sea shanties, but I don't know if I have a favorite one.
Just for doing that job.
Well, with the exception of video games, take video games out of it, is there anybody that's nowadays writing modern shanties that you are aware of?
Not really.
All on one sense, nobody, but on the other sense, all of us.
I mean, there are definitely people writing nautical music. I'm unaware of anybody specifically writing sea shanties.
Right.
Right.
But what would a good sea shanty be for people working in the space station?
Okay. Well, if for a space station, you're going to have to come up with some kind of repetitive, rhythmic work that you would have to be doing. And then we could probably come up with a shanty that would work for it.
Brushing your teeth.
Brushing your teeth. All right. Well, for the brushing your teeth shanty, I'm going to have to go with the classic. That's
what I thought. That's what I thought.
I've been threatening for years to write a lawn mowing shanty, because walking that thing around the yard is an awful lot like pushing the capstan around.
Wow, I would love it if you could. Could you please do that?
I'll do what I can. Like I said, it's an idea I've had for at least a decade and haven't done anything with. So
that would be fabulous.
On the other hand, we do know people who have written shanties. Now, the fact is that shanties are relatively simple. I mean, usually it's a 2-line rhyme. It's a couplet, one of the simplest things to create. Mm-hmm. And we know plenty of people who have written shanties.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there's one for the current curse upon the land, the pox upon the land, that was written by Cedric the Fiddler. You remember, right?
That was a filk, though, not him writing an original thing. He was modifying South Australia, I believe.
Yes, it was a hand washing shanty.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, I think I've even got a copy of it lying around.
Yeah, there was a whole list of sea shanties that are good for how long to wash your hands for. So I don't remember them now because this thing's been going on for a while. But
his shanty was super long, but it was really funny.
Well, you don't only do shanties, though. You perform other music, and so
we do.
Do your audiences? How are your audiences different as you travel from festival to festival, from fair to fair? What are their desires, and what is the uniqueness about each of those fairs?
Some fairs are much more into the singing along, and we tend to do more of the call and response kind of things at those fairs. And other fairs, they will not participate at all.
Really?
Yeah, they just don't want it. They want to sit there and maybe look at the stage, but definitely have a place to sit down and eat lunch. And we don't try so much for the participation at those festivals.
Do they buy your albums? Or are you just a nuisance for them?
Yes, they do. They do.
Okay.
Well,
like
it
when
depends
we're
which subsection of the audience you're referring to.
right. Like when we're in the Southern festivals, they are a little bit more. They deal with a little bit more body in general. Especially the Florida festivals, boy, they're okay with the body. When we get to like Texas, we can do a little body, but the participation is a little bit. It's closer to the Midwest, so the participation is lower, and also, we're right by a bar, and sometimes people just want to listen while they're in line to get a beer. When we're at Bristol, close to Chicago and Milwaukee, well, participation is too much to expect from people who are that very much into the middle of the Midwest. You have to allow that people
No, I
are
think
going
we
to.
get some pretty good response there.
I mean, they love us, but remember what it was like when we first got there. It was scary. It was scary. We had never had an experience like this. We were standing on the stage performing,
Right.
and we had a crowd of people who
looking at us.
They weren't singing along. They weren't clapping their hands.
They're just
They were
like,
just like, because that's what you do when you're polite.
You go and you
listen.
pay attention. I've actually learned to make jokes about that at that particular fair, and the people who are being polite are obviously from Milwaukee, and the people who are not being polite are obviously from Chicago, and that joke gets mixed reactions.
As you might expect.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's not how I present the joke. That's just the gist. But
yeah, but when we got done singing, they all came up and bought stuff like a lot.
The one that freaked me out was when we were at the Wisconsin Renaissance Festival up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, right by the Minnesota border. That was a show that was open for like 3 years, and we did the first and third year up there. But there was one show where it was a very small fair on its opening year, and we had like one guy in the audience, one show, and he was just sitting. I mean, he was the only audience member, and he was just sitting there with his arms crossed, scowling at us for the whole show. And I'm like, dude, why are you even here? You're obviously not enjoying the show. Just go do something else. Let me try to sing to other people who might want to come in and enjoy it. But instead, you're here being this energy sink. And I finished the show, and he got up and he put $20 in the hat, and he bought all of our albums, and he had the best time, and he absolutely did not let his face know about it.
Or us.
Well, he did eventually let us know.
And when we told a friend of ours who was actually from Minnesota, and when we told him about that experience, he said, "Welcome to my people." He said, this friend of ours is a comedian, and when he delivered, he said when I first got up to perform for a Minnesota crowd, I thought I was dead. I got halfway through my set, and I thought my whole show was over. My life was over. This whole thing I thought I was going to do, where I thought I was going to entertain people, it's obviously just a dream. And he said, and people came up afterwards, and they were like, "Boy, that was so funny. I just about laughed. It was all I could do to keep from laughing."
Well, good.
Did you laugh?
I hate for you to distract the comedian by laughing out loud.
Yeah.
Don't blow his game or anything. but that's just the crowd. You have to get used to it around the country. And New York audiences might tip less, but they are very appreciative, and they really dig you. They listen a lot.
Well, are there any festivals that you wish you could play? I mean, I guess you'd like to play all of them if you could be everywhere at once.
Yeah, if we could, that would be neat. But many of them are happening at the same time.
That's the problem.
I'd like to play at any festival that's happening in June.
Anybody? Bueller? Any June festival?
Do you like it to be kind of nice and cool, though? It's kind of nice and pleasant.
Yeah. But it's kind of an industry mystery that there are actually very few, if any, Renaissance festivals happening in June.
There are a few. I mean, West Virginia just opened up in June.
Yes.
I think Kentucky goes in June, and Colorado. We're just not working at any of those.
That's true. I would love to try, if I could try a fair without if there were no consequences. I would love to get out to California, the original Renaissance Pleasure Fair.
Yeah.
I feel like my card will not be fully checked off until I at least get a chance to see that fair. And also, I've never been to California, and I think that would be awesome.
Same. Have not been to California. Would love to go see that fair.
Right.
It
Yeah.
unfortunately happens the exact same weekends as Scarborough, which is the one that I've been doing the longest.
Yeah, we
And-
love Scarborough.
Yeah, we don't want to jeopardize that contract just to go see this other place.
No.
No.
And you don't want to disappoint your people.
And we love being there.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, it is a mutual thing. We have people there that we love, and people there that love us, and
I think a lot of your friends, and fans may be watching right now. I'm checking to see if anybody had any questions in the feed.
Oh, okay.
And
Sure.
I don't see any questions, but I see some people that may be from outside of our circles. That would be really groovy. Right now, the R plank is acting up on me. Your images are frozen, but you can still hear me. So that's about all I can expect out of this thing.
Okay.
Really, I'm looking at the thing right now, and we don't seem to be frozen on my computer. Although I think you are.
Yeah, it's the R
Yeah,
plank.
you are not moving, but I'm seeing me and Susan moving.
It's the R. It would rather do just audio if it could. That means I can eat the sandwich and not hide it.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent.
Now,
You just go ahead.
Susan, you played at the very first Pirate Palooza, maybe the second one. I don't remember.
Might have been the first. I can't remember.
I think you were at the first, and you may have been on. We had posters back then because people would pin things up in coffee houses. That's back in the early days before people could argue with each other on the internet so efficiently.
Yeah,
So it was.
I have a picture of me at that first event.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I was standing next to Al Leonard and Fiona.
I think Michael Aident took those photographs. He's the one that documented the very first Pirate Palooza.
Thank you, Michael.
The first one was just an excuse for me to kind of make up for us not having a fall festival anymore at Georgia. And because I had heard that there was this thing called Talk Like a Pirate Day, Dave Barry wrote about it. I was like, this would be a great way to get people to come sing for us in the fall, thinking that September was the fall in Georgia, which is clearly not thinking it through all the way since it's hot as blazes.
It's a crapshoot.
It's a crapshoot. Today it's amazing. On the day that it would have been an amazing Pirate Palooza, when we would have been at our best, the Commodore's curse. Boom. So, but it was it grew from there into what it is now. We'd love to have you, but you guys are quite popular, and I am going to share the information with everybody about where they can purchase your music.
Oh, thanks, man.
I wish that we could do live music on Zoom, but it doesn't lend itself toward that, as we've been learning in preparation for tonight's concert. So our musicians have been practicing a little bit with how to do that, and if it's probably too late. It may not be too late to pull you guys in now. We could talk to the people that run it if you want to show up later at our 8 o'clock show and perform. But you might just want to sit at home and watch.
Yeah, it's hard for us to perform together because we're not in the same place.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm afraid I have some duties, some family duties that I'll have to execute shortly after we get off tonight.
Yeah. Well, it's this is what I really wanted to do, is just be able to talk about music and shanties and I don't know what I haven't, questions I haven't asked, and I don't know if anybody's got any questions here. Penny Limley, they're one of the families here, and I think they're going to be down in the Bay Area next year. They were wondering what festivals you play. Could you name those again?
Oh, sure.
I'm typing it out right now, but it's Sherwood Forest Fair by Austin, Scarborough Fair by Dallas, Bristol Renaissance Festival between Milwaukee and Chicago, the Maryland Renaissance Festival by Washington, D.C., sometimes the New York Renaissance Festival, the one in Tuxedo Park, so that's just north of New York City, and the Carolina Renaissance Festival, which is by Charlotte.
You know, I've not been to is that New Haven? Fairhaven? That's Fairhaven.
Yeah, it's a Carolina show.
I've not been to
Right.
Fairhaven in Carolina, but I understand that a lot of people love it, especially the time of year that they have it. So,
There is usually in the early November, there's a what they call an invasion weekend, wherein a bunch of the Georgia folks kind of carpool up and spend the weekend. Maybe sometime you can catch a ride with somebody.
that'd be great. That'd be great. I'd have to put pants on, but I would do that. Um,
I think pants are optional.
do they
Yeah,
have
pants are optional. There's lots of kilts.
what do they call it? Pirate Christmas? Is everything free?
I think they had
No.
more themes than they had weekends.
All right, Pirate Christmas is they have like some specials. It's specifically actually for our for Christmas shopping. They have a Pirate Santa, two things which go together really well. And I believe, I'm trying to remember, but if Matt Siegel is watching, he may have to correct me. I believe that if you spend a certain amount, keep your receipts, and if you spend, I think it's over 200 or 250, you get free tickets to for you and your people to come back the following year.
Oh, that's-
Following weekend, actually. That's why they always do it the second to last weekend.
Oh, is it? I thought
Yeah.
it was for the following. Never mind.
It's still a great fun deal, especially if you're a regular and you want to be able to cruise into the closing weekend, because closing weekend is always a fun time. It's a sad time and it's fun. The
I've added a link to our
I
Kenry's
saw that.
Favorites album.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. The of the festivals that you play at, you said that your favorite was Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Maryland a festival where they have campgrounds and all of that, I assume?
There is a certain amount of campground for participants. It's very small. The only fairs that we know of that have campground for patrons are the Sherwood Forest and the Texas Renaissance Festival.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a tough little bit of liability probably to have to cover for some fairs, and the logistics of it too.
It's possible that it's only possible in Texas.
Yeah, that could be.
Maybe you're right.
All we know
But
is that it's its own thing. When you go and there is an ability to camp at the festival for the entire weekend, and there's the whole after hours culture that sort of grows up where everybody comes and decorates their own camps, and they make them all unique, and then the camps all have names. There's after hours entertainment. There's a whole other thing that happens, to the point that the people who love doing that almost don't see the point of going to other fairs.
Yeah.
I've
I've heard people at Sherwood say, oh, there's one up by Dallas, but I've never been to it because there's no camping. And if there's no camping, why even go to a Renaissance Festival?
And I could come up with a good list of why, but there's a whole different, like I said, it's a whole different set of things.
you know the one of our folks in our Palooza crew goes out every summer. I mean every September now to Wasteland Weekend, which is not entirely unlike what you're describing as far as the way that the camp is, and they basically it's a post-apocalyptic theme to it. They're in the desert, and they're highly organized. There's inside the town, there's outside the town, this created town that they have, and it's an entirely it's an experience where you're subsumed into it's immersive, and it sounds like that's what this has always been for the Renaissance, for these camps you're describing, but this is kind of where the entertainment and the patrons are all kind of really intermingled, where the patrons maybe are becoming the entertainment. And it sounds like it's just an incredible time for those that have the ability to go camp like that. And
Yeah, and their campgrounds are outstanding. We
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
go out and walk around there sometimes during the week, because it's someplace nice to walk. But man, they
Just
really do it
between
up.
them. Yeah, it's beautiful. Every one of them is unique. I mean, they bring some of them really bring stuff in. You can tell, like, so they bring in their own barbecue machines and whatnot. And some people go the other way. They go super primitive and they just make fences and things out of branches and twigs and found things. And other places they do gardening. They bring in plants and flowers all around the outside, and all of it's unique. It is unique. It's a great look. I think they even have contests for the best camp.
They do, and most improved.
Yeah.
How
I
long?
don't know when they do their campground awards, but they do it because they've got their awards posted up on the fences of their campgrounds.
How long does
Yeah.
that fair run?
7 weeks, 8 weeks. We only do the first half of it because it overlaps with Scarborough. But it was running February, March, and the weather just wasn't good in February, so they moved it to March, April.
Yeah,
Right.
and they're big enough they can do that.
Yeah, it seems to be doing really well. It was a daring move, and everybody was watching, and it really seems to be working out. And
They also used the site to do summer camp for kids, and I think they've had Celtic festivals out there too. I mean,
Yes.
not this year, obviously, because of the curse, but
Is there
Yeah.
a yeah, I'd love to get out there to that and see this. Well, I'll never get to see the camp unless I climb into somebody's trailer and ride in there with them. Thinking about that
they
now.
have
figuring
tent
it out.
camping back there too. Just, stick a tent in the trunk of your car and you can go into the campground area, and whether you stay there or not.
Yeah,
True,
I'll figure
true.
that out. Listen, I'm wondering, are there any guidelines you could give to people who are patrons that might be watching this as far as pub behavior and things like that? A lot of people that are new to it may not be aware of kind of some of the ways to behave when people are performing, and it takes them a little while, but I think some people never learn because nobody ever pulls them aside and says, hey, Captain Drew, you're not supposed to be jumping around and get off the stage because this is a show about these people over here singing and not about you. So that's what they told me. Is that true?
Oh,
I'd
well.
say when in a pub, act much like when you're at a comedy show. Don't talk so loud that you're going to make it hard for the people around you to hear the show.
Okay, hang on.
Try
I
to
gotta take notes.
occasionally at least look at the stage and clap your hands between songs.
Okay, I'm making notes. I'm making notes here. So,
Those are the 3 big rules.
yeah.
That's what I'd say, yeah.
Do you have any funny stories about patrons that are internet safe?
Ooh, why must you ask these things?
Well, I mean,
Internet safe? Maybe
There was
not.
the old fat drunk lady who kept flashing me. That was an adventure.
Oh God.
you can tell the stories, whatever they are. Tell us a couple of stories.
Well, let me see. There was that bee that
there was one that happened up at Bristol this year that is internet safe. We were up on stage and I was talking between songs and I said something with "to be fair" in it, and like 5 people in the front row all went, "To be fair," and I had not seen Letterkenny yet, so I didn't know what the hell they were doing, but they just kept saying "to be fair" like they were making fun of me, and it's like, what the fuck is this? And we were sharing the stage with Iris and Rose, and they told us what was going on, and eventually got us the first 5 seasons of that on a thumb drive. So now we get the joke.
Yeah, I was just recently introduced to
Oh
that.
no, you cut out a little bit, baby.
Oh,
I heard him.
Okay, you're good now.
I heard him. Yeah,
Okay, good.
I recently got to see some of that, so I'm dialed in, as they say, here down on the earth.
Since a lot of the humor in that show is about how they say things rather than actually what they're saying, it's super rewatchable.
Right. And probably more entertaining than patrons.
I'm going to pull this curtain real quick because the sun is shining on me.
That's okay. I can't see anything with my art blank. It's just like looks like it's just like engravings of both of you just standing sitting there. So I feel like I called you on a telephone and I'm looking at your pictures in an album.
Oh, okay.
So
Um,
they're good pictures.
we can see each other move, but we can't see you move. What
You
about you
moved.
guys out there?
Oh, I can see you on the internet though. Look at that. Yeah,
Okay, good.
you're like right there on that little thing.
Okay, so rules if you are at the pub. Try to, let me see. Don't, I don't know what to say. Don't get too drunk. Don't roofie anybody. Um,
General rules to live by, really.
little rules for the back. Yeah. Try to remember that there's a show going on. We really do like it if people could maintain a little bit of awareness that that's happening and respect the other people who are listening, even if you're having a conversation. Maybe here's the rule. Here's the one rule. The louder you're talking, the further away from the stage you should be. If you have a phone call and you gotta take that out, you gotta take that outside of the pub. That way you can hear, we can hear, everybody's good. If you want to have a little conversation with somebody and you just want to talk about something, you just get in real close and then you talk to them real, right here, and then just chill out like that. And I think that's the one rule. I think the louder you talk, the louder you are, the further away from the stage you should be. That's my rule.
I mean, the basic rule is don't be a dick, but not everybody knows when they're being a dick, so you have to get into more detail sometimes.
Yeah,
Sure.
and on our part, we need to remember that people came here to have a good time, and sometimes having a good time means, drinking a lot and sometimes forgetting the rules.
I'm getting better at that.
So let me. We're nearly here to the end of our time. I want to find out, how did you both get started on this journey that brought you to being actual, honest to gosh, people who travel around performing at Renaissance fairs? What was your home fair? Where did you get started, and how did your journey begin?
Okay, there's one thing that we both have in common, and that is it was for both of us, traveling and making music was our dream. Has for I don't know how long, but to me it was since I was a little kid.
Actually, not true for me at all.
But you said you wanted to.
I wanted to work at the Renaissance Festival as soon as I walked into the Renaissance Festival. The first day I walked into Scarborough, I never wanted to leave. And yeah. I did not know right away that a singer was how I wanted to do that. I was thinking about being a juggler instead for a while. But I actually learned how to be a performing musician to work at the Renaissance Festival, not I started working at the Renaissance Festival to be a performing musician.
Yeah, okay. I would never want to be that guy because, whenever there's like a fight, they say go for the juggler. So I never wanted to be that guy.
Right.
That's only if they're serious.
Yeah.
If I had known at the time how much more variety gets paid than music, I might have gone that route, but who knew?
No, I always wanted to be a musician. I always wanted to sing and play music for people, and I always wanted to travel around doing it. That's just what I want to do.
So was Scarborough was your first fair? Would you call that your home fair, Greg?
Yeah.
And Susan, did you start here in Georgia? Or did you come from up north? I can't recall.
The Georgia show was my first Renaissance Festival.
Okay.
The Georgia show was my first. I showed up years ago, went on the old and got hired, called up to do a song just at random while we were in the pub. And it so happened that I had a song practiced up, and I did it, and everybody liked it. And so somebody came over to the table afterwards and said, hey, keep an eye on the papers around February. That's when we usually advertise for people to come in and try out for the fair. And so I did, and that was really the first time. And I played that festival for at least 5 years before it was 5 years before I actually went up to Maine and began sailing. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years, and then I wanted to get back on the circuit. So then instead of calling Georgia, I called the Carolina Renaissance Festival. And at the time I was working in an office, I had actually I'd stopped sailing. I was just in Portland, Maine, working in an office building, and it was like credit collections or something. And it was a really hard thing to send out a resume and see, is anybody interested? Does anybody still want me to do stuff? And I left my work number because that was business hours, and that was where they were going to have to reply. And Leisha Swanson, who was the entertainment director at Carolina at the time, called me within that week, and I could hear the most amazing thing to me was that she was talking to me on the phone, and in the background I could hear my CD playing, and she had put it on. She was only on the second song, and she had gotten to the second song and then just picked up the phone and called me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that made me so great. It was like a super good boost. And I'm forever grateful to Leisha, because she was like the one who really believed in me. And when I asked her about getting on the road and going further, she was like, hey, just ask. And she's not on the circuit anymore working at fairs, but I never stopped being grateful to her.
Yeah. That's a fabulous story right there.
Yeah.
So I had started the Corsairs, and about, like I was saying, they were wanting to do fewer fairs and I was wanting to do more. So I worked up the solo show, and I went to Coy, the entertainment director, and said, so I've got this idea about doing a solo show, and what I'd like to do is still do 4 shows a day with the Corsairs, but then do 3 shows a day, by myself with guitar. When do you need me to audition by? They said, oh, you're hired. So that was cool.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
But my 4 shows a day were at the Dirty Duck all the way at one end of the fair, and my 3 shows a day were at the Lady Hawk all the way at the other end of the fair. So I was walking the whole length of the fair between each and every set.
Well, you pay your dues.
And I had like 5 fans who did every trip with me. I dubbed them the Shanty Man Hiking Club, and it was a cool year.
I love that you had fans hiking the site with you and just following you around for your music.
Yeah.
There's nothing better for a musician, I know, than to find their core fans, because it's fun for both of them. They each need each other, and we need you guys as soon as things get safe. Once the Commodore's ghost rears down and we can get back to their villages and kingdoms around the realms and get back in front of you guys, people are really missing it. And we really appreciate you guys so much, and we're sad that we don't have time to see you now, that we can't get to see you now, and we've missed it a lot. And so getting to talk to you guys about this, I would have the same conversation with a dozen other people easily, other performers, about how much we miss them, and we'd love to see them out there. So just take what I'm telling you as coming from all the patrons, that we're looking forward to seeing you back.
Do we have time for me to squeeze in one more stupid joke before we go?
Please.
Because when Susan was talking about how she was getting into this, I realized that we had a very parallel trajectory, by which I don't mean that we were doing similar things at similar times. I mean, if you draw a line on a map from New York to Atlanta and then draw another one from Cleveland to Dallas, those lines would be fairly parallel.
A bit, yeah.
I did say it was a dumb joke when I started.
Yeah, you got one of those looks coming later on.
that'll be in another conversation after this one. So, well, let me thank you both. Let me thank Ramblin' Sailors, Susan and Gregg Csikos. You can catch them. What do you think your next festival that you'll actually be able to show up at is? Do you have any
We
idea?
hope Sherwood will be open in this in March. We
Knock
do
wood.
have a contract for Scarborough Fair, so we know we're going to be at that one in April.
Super. Well,
Not,
I know your fans can't wait to see you.
we don't want to say for sure because, we don't want to jinx anything,
Sure,
more.
sure.
But assuming that the creek don't rise too far, we
Right.
hope to see everybody at Sherwood,
Well,
preferably with maybe with some face coverings and
I'm wearing one, lady. So anyway, yeah, well, I have the same hopes for Pirate Palooza next September. And if anybody's dialed into this that don't know about Pirate Palooza, you can go to piratepalooza.com. Is ramblingsailors.com a .com, or are you just a Facebook and a Bandcamp? I don't remember.
Rambling
I
Sailors Music.
just built a brand new website. Built. I'm doing it on GoDaddy. It's ramblingsailorsmusic.com. I'll share that link too before we sign out.
Super. I really appreciate it.
And
And
Drew,
yeah,
could we thank you, please, for putting on Pirate Palooza, even in the face of a curse?
I'm happy to do it. It meant I didn't have to wear any pants, so it was an easy exchange.
There is nothing like Pirate Palooza, and we think of you every year, even when we can't be there. It's always been its own beautiful thing. I love that when you got started, you said you didn't want to seek for you didn't want any sponsors, you didn't want any corporate sponsorships, you didn't want any radio stations. You wanted it to be purely something organic that people show up to do because they want to.
Right.
And it's always been that way, and you've kept it that way, and I love it. I love that people do this every year, and I'm always a little sorry that I can't.
It's fun, and you're there in spirit, and we we're here. We're here.
We do.
So
To the brethren in my empty glass. Wait a minute.
what have I got? I got, hang on. I was drinking this earlier when Billy was cooking.
I got an empty coffee mug. Woo!
Worcestershire. Cheers.
We can't see you moving, so just say you're raising a glass.
I'm raising the bottle. I'm drinking right out of the bottle.
Oh, we believe you, but cannot see you.
Oh!
Hey, Worcestershire.
You're drinking it for no reason.
No, I think
Thank
I'm
you
addicted
again,
now,
Drew.
actually. I think if you try it, you'll start wanting to drink it during the day.
Okay.
Thank you, Drew.
Anyway,
I'm sure my blood pressure would thank me as well.
it's time to wrap this up, and we're going to sing out our Lawrence Welk song, Good Night. Good night. I'm just going to hang up now, okay?
Okay.
Okay, guys. Good night.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Yar. I can't even
Thank you,
stop it. My
Brad.
buttons don't even work. I'm just going to quit the whole thing. Okay. Our plank, I got to unplug you. Love you guys.
Bye.
How do I stop it? Nothing works. Okay, I'm just gonna actually literally pull the plug. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Watch this.
No.
Bye.